You're entering the marketplace of liberty. The conservative cartel starts right now. And now, here's your host, Matt Locke.
All right. Welcome in Thursday's edition of the Conservative Cartel. Got a great show for you today. The phone is ringing. I've got editor-in-chief of Big League Politics, Patrick Howley, who is calling us currently. We're going to get him on the phone straight away. We're going to talk about the Mueller report. We're going to talk about Juicy Mullet. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. Chris Evans doesn't know if he can play Tom Brady. What a douche. Hollywood people are overrated douche nozzles. We've got counter investigations. Devin Nunes out there saying, you know what? Time to turn the tide. Time to investigate the investigators. Of course, Lindsey Graham came out and said that. And now we've got Rand Paul saying that too. But we're going to go straight away to the phone lines. We're going to pick up with Patrick, editor-in-chief of Big League Politics, Patrick Howley. Good morning, or good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Matt, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I love it. So, Patrick, you guys, first of all, I have to give you big kudos. I was on Twitter last night. Mark Levin is tweeting your stuff. I mean, welcome to the big leagues, my friend. I mean, you guys we know here at the Cartel, you've been doing great work for quite a while. But starting to get some notoriety, starting to hit the big stage, and I read Big League Politics every day.
I am a very famous man, Matt. Thank you for pointing that out.
I love it.
You see what happens, Matt, is I break a lot of stories, and then there are all these reporters for the so-called mainstream media that take it and rip it off and steal it.
Yep.
And then, it just kind of like dissipates into the water. So I'm making much more of an effort to take credit for the things that we do. The president is winning. Which is pretty awesome.
Yes.
So, we're riding the crest of a high and beautiful wave, as Hunter S. Thompson said.
I love it, by the way. And look, you do great work. If you guys want to follow them, they're over at Big League Politics on Twitter. It's at Howley Reports, right? Is that your Twitter handle?
Yes.
At Howley Reports, Howley, Howley Reports over on Twitter. You can follow him. Let's talk, because there is lots of stuff going on. I mean, you're a busy guy over there. There's a lot of things currently happening in our news cycle. Let's start with Mueller first. 22 months, $25+ million, unlimited prosecutorial control, interviews, witnesses, subpoenas, and everything else. And what a great big nothing burger.
It was, of course, a nothing burger. Now, all along, I knew that this was the so-called Operation Crossfire Hurricane conspiracy. Yes. This was an effort by manipulated members of the deep state who are sympathetic to the so-called Red-Green Alliance between communists and radical Muslims, who have been infiltrating our government really since Joe McCarthy warned us about this, and perhaps we should have listened to him. And they put together this Operation Crossfire Hurricane plot to try to take down Donald Trump because they're terrified of a real, actual person being the commander-in-chief and making decisions based on what's right for the American people and not what's right for their various criminal enterprises. So we knew that Hillary Clinton's campaign was using the Christopher Steele dossier, then they tried to cover it up.
Yep.
We knew that the Obama administration in their final days in office, as Trump was coming in, was calling around to Ben Cardin, to Bob Corker, to various senators, trying to get them involved in the Russia conspiracy. James Clapper actually thought that he could invalidate President Donald Trump's presidency by going to a female Supreme Court justice and trying to get them to say that Trump is not actually the commander-in-chief because of the Russia hoax. Right. We know that Brennan and Clapper have Supreme Court justices in their pocket, including John Roberts, who, as we showed, Brennan and Clapper hacked into John Roberts' phone. So
yes.
They blackmail these people.
Well, and we know that. Patrick, I'm going to jump in just real quick because this John Roberts thing has really irritated me. We have watched a lot of decisions come across the bench at the Supreme Court now where Roberts is starting to be that Kennedy, and you have to ask yourself, okay, who's behind this? And you just laid that out perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when it actually came time to carry out the operations, and, this happens all the time. If you work in the deep state, you basically don't do anything all day except just try to figure out how to mess with people. Like, that's your whole job. You're just like a creative writer about how to mess with the political enemies of your superiors, right? So Natalia Veselnitskaya, we know she was working for Fusion GPS, meeting with Glenn Simpson before and after. So she goes in, she sets up Don Jr. and Kushner. They were the targets. Peter Strzok, was the point man on basically every single thing that happened, working directly for John Brennan. And not only that, but Barack Obama then used foreign intelligence from Angela Merkel to keep this going into the new Trump administration. We were well into the Trump presidency, and Obama was still actively colluding with Germany and Australia and others to spy on the commander-in-chief. It is nothing short of treason. It is the crime of the century.
Well, and Patrick, I'm glad you said that. On the phone line, I've got Patrick Howley, editor-in-chief, Big League Politics. You can find him at Howley Reports. Head over to @Big League Politics on Twitter. I talked about this, the other day, and it's amazing because now we're hearing the treason word. Donald Trump, if you go to his Twitter account, he's laying it down. He's like, I know what's going on. I've got the information. This is absolutely nothing short of treason. I talked about this. That's a strong word. Treason is not to be taken lightly in our country.
Yeah, well, it is taken lightly in the age of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. But finally, we are correcting the crime that has gone on for so many decades. And that's the biggest issue. Fox News wants to talk about taxes or this or that, or did Trump win or lose today? The fact of the matter is he is fighting a battle against very well-entrenched corruption, and he's finally winning. This is a real turning point. You notice that the emergency declaration for the wall was upheld shortly after the Mueller case. I mean, this is spiritual warfare, and there have been times when we were not winning the spiritual warfare. We are winning the spiritual warfare now, heading into 2020. I mean, Trump is a runaway freight train after this. I think it's going to be very hard to actually beat him. However, it is going to be very possible for the Democrats to beat him with voter fraud and all the ways that they manipulate the election process.
Well, you're not wrong there. I'm exactly with you here because we're at a point in time where Trump just keeps winning. And you're talking about that entrenched deep state. You're talking about people who have deep pockets, who are connected with dark money, who I just saw. We're going to get into this in just a little bit. George Soros had some money into old, what's her name, Kimberly Fox in Chicago. I mean, we're watching these folks control our politics. They're controlling our politicians. They're up there on Capitol Hill, and they're not doing this for us. They're doing it for themselves. And all of this other stuff, Patrick, as I see it, and maybe you can help me understand it, I see all this other stuff as minutia and distraction. You had the Mueller report. The left has been out there saying time and time and time. And the ringleader of all this is Adam Schiff. There's collusion. I've got proof. And Swalwell, I've got proof. And, we know what Trump's doing. And we're not going to stop. And we're going to use the House. And, is this, what is going on? Do you know what's going on? What's the backstory of all this other minutia stuff that is being a distraction?
Well, look, the Democrat investigations into the president from the House are going to pretty much be null and void so long as we keep a good relationship with McConnell and the Senate Republicans.
Right.
Now, that's a big if, to be clear.
Right.
Now, Jerry Nadler has a very big conflict of interest because his son is actually suing the Trump administration and the president.
I read that.
His son's firm, Gibson Dunn, is the leading anti-Trump lawsuit firm. So basically, you have Nadler freeing up all this information with his subpoenas that can then be used for these private sector clients. And what happens, Matt, when all of this information, comes out about a president based on politically motivated investigations, then our enemies actually figure out more about how our government works, about how the administration works, and they can figure out how to attack us. And it is a national security issue.
And that's where the treason comes in, by the way. You're not wrong. I mean, everything you just said is absolutely spot on.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, that's why I'm a very famous man, Matt Locke.
You are a very famous man, by the way. When Mark Levin starts quoting you, you know you've made the big time. Let's switch gears now because the Mueller report we know, and you've laid that out so magnificently. Let's switch gears because in Chicago, I mean, really the armpit of America. Chicago, I used to live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Chicago is a crap hole. And you got Mayor Rahm Emanuel over there. Crime is through the roof. It's worse than Iraq. You've got this two-bit part-time actor, black man, gay, who goes out and perpetuates a hate crime hoax, 16 felony counts, walks scot-free. What in the world is going on in Chicago?
Well, what happened is Tina Chen, who was Michelle Obama's chief of staff, was texting with Kim Fox. And just a few minutes ago in the Chicago Tribune, Kim Fox's spokesman admitted that she never actually recused herself.
Yeah.
You know, at the goal line, she said, well, I'm recusing myself. And then it turns out it's like, psych, she didn't recuse herself. So they're just, I mean, it's just shameless. It's absolutely shameless, right? And they're so complacent because they have the media. But you know, this isn't yet another case where it's so clear that the media carried water for a lie, for an absolute hoax, for an invented narrative. And the Chicago police were so angry that they actually dumped the documents and said, here, take a look.
Look at them.
And you see Jussie Smollett paying for the rope that formed the noose.
Yep.
I mean, he paid for the fake noose.
Yes, he
did. What more do you need?
Well, that's the whole thing. I've got an article in here I'm gonna cover later, but I think it's fantastic. Tucker Carlson was talking about this the other night, and he was talking about Nancy Pelosi, and he says, look, the Democratic Party, CNN is nothing but a political super PAC for the Democrat Party. When the Democrat Party says to cover something, CNN, MSNBC, The Post, The Times, all of the liberal rags that call themselves journalists pick up the mantle. And in Chicago, it's amazing. Like you said, there's all of this proof. And I was mystified. I was on Twitter last night, and Smollett's attorney came out and said, well, we may sue the Chicago police. For what?
Yeah.
For what? For doing their job?
Well, now it turns out that the Nigerian guys might have been in whiteface.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah, that's what one of the lawyers said. They might have actually been in whiteface during the attack. We have reached like a scandal Mad Lib, a Democrat scandal Mad Lib. There is. Where do we go from here? The universe is just collapsing in on itself.
You go to big league politics is where you go, Patrick, because you're out there shining the truth everywhere that it can be found. I mean, that's where you go. And the amazing thing is the platforms like Mojo 50 Radio, Big League Politics, you know, we're the ones who are breaking the truth. We're the ones out there who are doing true journalism. This is yellow journalism at its finest. I mean, we have no accountability at all when it comes to this. And you know, the thing that drives me nuts, Patrick, and I know you probably deal with it every day. You know, I'm reading all these stories from all these outlets to do show prep. And every day I ask myself one simple question. Is it true? How do you know?
Right.
I mean, our best guess, we're watching all of these outlets produce this crap. And you have to say to yourself, what is narrative? What is truth, and how did it happen, and how can I get to that truth? So this whole juicy mullet deal, I mean, this is crazy. Is the FBI or the DOJ going to pick this up, you think?
Yeah, they are picking it up according to the president, but, I mean, who knows? The FBI and the DOJ are so corrupt as well. They were probably, you know, participating in the whiteface.
Oh, isn't that something? I mean, and that's the whole thing. When we look at our intelligence apparatus, the real crime here, going back to the Mueller thing, is what the Obama administration did to the Department of Justice and, of course, our investigative units, our investigative community. It is an absolute joke today. And then you've got Comey last night on freaking NBC talking to Lester Holt. This guy is a wackadoodle.
He's back from the woods.
Yes.
He went and he centered himself. He got zen.
Isn't that where Hillary Clinton hung out, was in the woods? What is it with these Democrats in the woods, Patrick? What they go
you could read about witchcraft. You could read about what the witch is, and they're going to call me a conspiracy theorist. But you know,
yeah, when the facts lead you to the truth, is it really a conspiracy, Patrick? If the facts lead you somewhere, is it really a conspiracy?
Well, they have to call people like us conspiracy theorists because literally what they're doing is a conspiracy.
Well, it is.
That's literally what it is.
It is an absolute cover-up. It is an absolute smokescreen cover-up for the fact that the Democratic Party rigged an election that they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. Period.
Yes. That's right. They thought that they could win the Midwest by going on the Ellen DeGeneres show, and they were just so thrown by Trump, who actually went and campaigned and had real policies that appealed to middle-class people. They thought Ellen was going to carry them over the goal line, and so chastened by their defeat, they had to blame it on Vladimir Putin.
Yes, because, you know.
Poor Vladimir.
Yeah, Trump's, Vladimir's penis holster or something. I remember that stupid comment. All right, so Patrick, we got just a couple minutes left here. What are you working on? What are you breaking? Anything new? What's going on over at Big League Politics?
Big stuff. Always investigating the news. You know, I spent a lot of time recently in Richmond, Virginia, where and I'm actually applying for a Pulitzer Prize for breaking the Ralph Northam blackface story. So much crisis going on there ahead of their governor's race in 2021. But the thing that we need to focus on right now is the 2020 election. We are well into it.
Oh, yes.
And there are no Democrats who are showing any kind of strength at all. Even Biden just is very, very weak. So what that suggests to me is that you're going to see a lot of stuff like we saw in Florida and Georgia during the governor races, a lot of voter fraud, fake ballots going through the airport, that kind of thing. The RNC is not going to be policing that. The Republican media is not going to be policing that. It's going to come down to people like us.
Well, and Patrick, tell everybody where they can find you.
BigLeaguePolitics.com.
Yes, sir. BigLeaguePolitics.com, at Howley Reports on Twitter, at Big League Politics on Twitter. Find them over there. Patrick, as always, fantastic conversation. You're always welcome on the Cartel, my friend.